All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Joining me tonight, my good friend out there on the West Coast in Los Angeles, California. Some call it San Francisco South. Some people are calling it that with SoFi Stadium. San Francisco Stadium is another nickname I've heard for said stadium. Evan Sowards is just having a good kind of night. He's got the Kyle Shanahan hat on. He's got the Debo jersey. He's got the stash rocking. He is all aboard the 49er hype train. Evan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I am good, man. It feels, I got to say, it feels great, baby. It was exciting to see the Niners play such great football tonight. I mean, that defense is insane. It's nice to see Jimmy play some good football too. I gotta be honest with you. I went into this game like not that general, hype man that I normally am with most games. I was worried. I was very worried about the outcome of the game tonight. I was very worried about the Rams, especially after the NFC Championship last year. So to have everything that happened tonight happened as it did, I'm floored with happiness.
That's good, man. And we're going to get into the Niners because both of our teams won this weekend. Everyone's talking about the Falcons offense, and everyone's talking about the 49ers defense coming out of this. So if we combine our two teams, maybe we just build the perfect NFL football team in 2022.
I think our offense is better. So yeah, I don't know about all that.
Do you?
Our offense?
Do you?
Then
Drake
Marcus
London, Kyle Pitts, Caleb Huntley just waltzing right into the lineup and just averaging 1 billion yards a carry.
First off, I mean, Kyle, at least George Kittle blocks. What does Kyle Pitts do?
That's true. He catches passes.
But does he? They don't throw him the ball.
Yeah, well, some weeks.
I mean, listen, I'm excited for what they will become, hopefully soon. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons can't even get their best player the ball, which as a 49ers fan, I empathize with that because did you see the Brian Baldinger tweet tonight?
I did not.
He literally, I've been literally yelling about how little George Kittle is used and how often they use him as just a blocker. And even Baldy tonight was like, do they have any plays for George Kittle?
But how much of that is just him coming? I wonder with Kittle, the injuries and stuff like that. I wonder if they're still they're using him as a blocker. If it was an injury thing, they wouldn't have him going up against helping Aaron Donald block, helping block Aaron Donald. God, I can't speak. It's too late. But I will say this: George Kittle had some good catches tonight, and then he also had a touchdown that got called back because of an inch of a foot, which was unfortunate because it was just absolute dime by Jimmy G. It was too bad all around for both the quarterback and the pass catcher. Well, let's get into what happened tonight on Monday Night Football. We had the 49ers take down the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers came into this game as the number one defensive DVOA team in the NFL. We saw a lot of fun stuff from Bosa and company. They obviously have a big pick six to ice it. But going into that, you were quite mad, and a lot of folks, even Peyton Manning was mad at the decision to kick that ultimately did not bite the 49ers in the end in this one. But now that it's over, the Niners won. Kyle Shanahan continues his reign over Sean McVay and gets his revenge from a season ago. How are you feeling about the 49ers as of 11:42 East Coast time on a Monday versus how you felt at, let's say, 4 o'clock East Coast time, Evan Sowards?
So you have to understand that last week, and I am one, as I will always say, I am one of Jimmy Garoppolo's biggest supporters. I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I am a supporter because I'm a 49ers fan, and that's what I've done. From Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick to Jimmy G. I will forever defend the 49ers quarterback. To me, it's what you're supposed to do as a fan. But that said, he had honestly maybe the worst game I've ever seen him play last week against the Broncos. Now, the Broncos are a very good team. And, when a good defense plays, a quarterback, as we saw last week with Jimmy and the Broncos, and this week with Stafford and, and the Niners defense, like good defenses, like really good defenses will make quarterbacks pay. And, coming off that Denver loss, it was I wasn't out on the season because I did think that the 49ers have the best defense in the NFL. I thought it last week. I thought it the week before. And, everyone has always, as always, whenever I claim this, right? There are years that I go, no, they will be the best defense. And then people go, no, you're wrong. And this is that year. I knew that they were the best defense in the NFL. So when people were like, "Are you done with the season?" Like what? I was like, "No," because they'll still compete no matter what. Even if the Jimmy that we saw last night against the Broncos, or when these conversations were had, I was like, they'll still compete. They're just too good at defense. So going into this game against the Rams, for me, I just wanted to see the 49ers score points, get the ball down the field, don't kick field goals, convert, score touchdowns, get the ball in the end zone. And I felt like we got to see that tonight. I have been a huge proponent of stopping this whole rushing Deebo Samuel, right? Like tonight was, and this may be the clip that you need to use for Twitter, but tonight was the greatest example. I'm marking it. As much as you all in the world and NFL has been like, Deebo Samuel, you got to get the ball in his hands no matter what. That's why you rush the ball. No, tonight was the example of why Deebo Samuel is one of the best receivers in the NFL, and you don't need to waste time rushing him against a stacked box. Get the ball in his hands. It's not hard. You don't have to rush him. You don't have to do jet sweeps, these crazy play designs. It can be a 4-yard pass and let him do his thing. And what happened? 6 catches, 115 yards, touchdown, averaging 19.2 yards per carry. Deebo had something like I think what was like over 70 yards, insane yards after the catch tonight. Maybe it was more, maybe. Like, I appreciate last year we had like running back injuries. I appreciate this year that we have running back injuries. But let the running backs run the ball. If you want to have maybe 1 to 2 plays a game where you want to use Deebo as a runner, something that maybe you'll catch him off guard, fine, great. You don't need to use Deebo like that. Get the ball to your playmakers. And I felt like tonight they did that, right? Like you got that, this was like a night where everybody won. Jimmy played well enough. Kyle got to have that fun pass to his fullback, right? George Kittle got the ball a couple times. He only catch 2 passes, but he did have a touchdown. It was very close. The ball got spread out a lot, but you got the ball to your playmakers. And I'm happy. I'm happy that we got to see that. Deebo ran the ball twice tonight for 2 yards. Get the ball to your playmakers. Deebo's one of the best receivers in the NFL. There's a reason that why he was neck and neck last year with Cooper Kupp. When they like week 7, they both had like 800, 900 yards or something insane, whatever it was, right? And then all of a sudden we started using Deebo like a running back. Deebo deserves the respect for one of the best receivers in the NFL. And tonight he showed that.
What about so there were 7 sacks total in this one for the Rams, given up on the night. 42.2 quarterback rating for Matthew Stafford. No TDs, 5.3 yards per attempt. They couldn't run the ball. 18 carries for 57 yards, 3.2 yards per attempt. Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, just didn't matter. Cooper Kupp still went off to an extent where he was still only averaging 8.7 yards. I mean, 14 receptions, 122 yards. I want to guess that part of that was Jerry Rice being in attendance and some people comparing him to Jerry Rice last year. I'm sure that was a cool experience to just have the legend in the building. Steve Young, Jerry Rice, all kinds of legends watching the 49ers. So I'm sure that was cool, especially for Debo with this 57-yard touchdown catch, not run, as 49er fans and Debo Samuel, as you alluded to, prefers in the year of 2022, Evan Sowards. But when I'm curious, because you talked about the defense, and I think that might be overlooked here, is just Bosa. Obviously, you're expecting it, but you got pass rush help from a multitude of guys in this one, and you had set 2 sacks by Ebukam, who you like a lot. I know you talked about that. Ridgeway gets 1. How do you pronounce his name? Omeniu? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Got
Charles
1.
Omenihu,
yeah. And then I think, Lenore got the other one. So in terms of the pass rush outside of Bosa, what did you see the Niners did, and who were you most impressed with in the defensive line to make Stafford's night a miserable one?
It all starts with Nick Bosa, period. Tonight was a great passing of the torch ceremony from Aaron Donald to Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is now the best defensive player in the NFL. It's not Micah Parsons. Okay, it's not Trayvon Diggs. It's not Aaron Donald. It's not. It's Nick Bosa. There's no way on earth, without you have already reading this, if you have, just tell me, how many pressures do you think Nick Bosa had tonight? Do you know the number, first off?
He had 2 sacks. I'm going to guess. Do you have 5?
14 pressures tonight. 14. I don't know if that's ever been done in a game before. So when I say it all starts with Nick Bosa, that is why. Nick Bosa is already getting the attention that someone like him gets. He gets double teams. And he's still getting sacks. And he's still getting 14 pressures. So it allows, guys like Samson Ebukam, who really, I came from the Rams as a free agent. There was some high upside, but last year he played decent. They traded for Charles Omenihu halfway through the season because Ebukam wasn't really playing, I think, as well as they had hoped. Those are things that just happen because, Hassan Ridgeway, man, these are guys that are very happy to get to play next to Nick Bosa because they are looking good. And the one thing that I want to talk about, because as much as the pass rush, 7 sacks, 14 pressures from Bosa, right? Absolutely incredible night. Bosa has 2 sacks now. Yeah, I mean, he's just killing it. But the one of the most quiet details of this game tonight is Charvarius Ward, the free agent that the 49ers signed from the Kansas City Chiefs this year, quietly having one of the best corner years out of any corner. Trayvon Diggs is out there grabbing the ball once or twice a game. It's very, very impressive. It's admirable. And I know there's a lot of football fans out there that are very excited to see, everyone loves an interception. Charvarius Ward is it's like a long lost relic. He is a one-on-one corner. He is you versus me. And every single week, he has these incredible plays where it's just, I talked about it last week on our pod where it was, Russell Wilson and his little magic that he always does. And then he threw the ball to Jerry Jeudy in a Tyler Lockett play that has happened a million times, or, whoever it be, Doug Baldwin, right? Charvarius Ward had this incredible tip again tonight. One-on-one, he goes up and makes a fantastic play. He's having a quietly incredible season. I hope more people pay attention to him down the road because what he's doing is very admirable. Is not doing it with safety help. That's one of the things that was most impressive to me tonight. Hufanga, who I feel like I'm a broken record. I'm obviously the biggest 49ers fan, homer on earth, where I feel like every single player is just the best player on earth. But Talanoa Hufanga, who is, by the way, the second coming of Troy Polamalu, who's training with him in the offseason, also from USC, also long, luscious hair, right? Also an Islander. He played out of his mind tonight. He had a pick 6, right? there's the last couple of games they've been using Hufanga to blitz, that like speed blitz at the snap, and he's timed it so well. But like he blitzed tonight, and I think it was maybe a little more obvious than normal, and he missed. It came very close, but Fred Warner immediately picked it up, and being Fred Warner being the greatest linebacker in the NFL that he is, cleaned up that tackle, and it just shows like how important and why the San Francisco 49ers defense is so good, because everyone can do their thing and they don't have to worry about anyone else. And they're just going to do what they're supposed to do. And it might not work, but they can do it. They can have those blitzes by a safety because they know that the linebackers are going to do the job. They know that Bosa is going to get pressure. It's just, they're the best defense in the NFL. Everything is clicking right now. They're unstoppable. The only thing that can stop the 49ers defense is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, we'll see. 2-2. I don't know who the best team in the NFC West is right now. I think we got a long way to go for these four teams to figure it out, because you have the Seahawks and their offense that it's so weird watching the Seahawks win this way, and we'll get the Seahawks Lions and what the kind of line Gino is putting up week after week for Seattle and the 31st ranked defense, and just a very, very different Seattle Seahawks than we've been accustomed to the last 10 to 15 years. Cardinals, we still have to wait and see what D-Hop looks like when he gets back with that group. They survive and come back late. Kyler turns it on when he needs to in the second half. And the Rams, obviously limited and not the same team they were a year ago. Still good. And like you said, they'll go as far in San Francisco as Jimmy Garoppolo takes them. But we'll see over the course of the next 13 games what he looks like and how this team continues to grow. So I'm very curious to see how the NFC West continues to unfold, because down in the South, in the NFC South, Evan, barring a just unbelievable second half collapse in Atlanta in the opener, the Atlanta Falcons would be sitting alone atop the NFC South through 4 weeks of the NFL season. Let me tell you, Evan, it was an absolute delight watching the Falcons on Sunday. No Myles Garrett in this one, which, again, speedy recovery. Well wishes to Myles Garrett coming back from his crash. I was concerned still with just how good the offensive line Cleveland was going to be, because the Falcons do not have any sense of a pass rush. Once again, it's a tradition unlike any other here in Atlanta. But Grady Jarrett, I mean, you talk about the best defensive player in football. Grady Jarrett's not the best player, Evan, but he is so clutch and he is so good when he needs to be. And he has a huge sack late in this one that puts Cleveland back fourth and a billion. And obviously they do not do anything with it. Brissett throws it up in the air. Not Richie Grant. I forgot who ended up coming down with it. Richie Grant was last week. I forgot who came down with it yesterday, actually. It wasn't Jalen Hawkins. I don't remember. Maybe it was Alfred. I think it was Alfred. But either way, they win late, and the Falcons are 2-2. The offense is fun. I don't know if you saw on Twitter today, Nate Tice tweeted out a clip of one of many Caleb Huntley big-time runs when Cordell Patterson could not play really in the second half. We had a drive, Evan, where they ran the ball every single play, and they scored a touchdown.
Why is that, though?
Well,
that's what's the most interesting part of that story to me.
Well, part of it is just Arthur Smith is just pulling stuff out of his butt in terms of scheming these guys, whether it's Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson, Caleb Huntley. He is just a mastermind at run scheming. Like, I think that's a major part of it, regardless of who's at quarterback.
Well, no. So, I mean, the thing that I'm talking about that I thought was interesting, or at least to me, was that after Marcus Mariota had a very bad play, I think it might have been after his interception, they ran it that many times in a row, and it was what led to a touchdown drive. That was Arthur Smith looking at Mariota and saying, I do not need you. And I mean, in the moment, it's fun and it's exciting. I hope that the Falcons can continue this momentum, but I thought that was really funny. And then to score a touchdown doing it.
I mean, Illuminae Zacchaeus had a big duck catch, which, as you alluded to, Marcus Mariota is just not good. He's doing just enough to keep his job week over week. But the story is just 35 carries, 202 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 2 TDs as a whole for this group. And Cordero going to the IR. I'm a little concerned about that, so he's gone for at least 4 weeks. But, I mean, Caleb Huntley looks good for a couple weeks, and you drafted Algier for this reason. 10 carries, 84 yards, 8.5. He runs hard. Nick Chubb was great for Cleveland, but Cleveland's just not. The thing about Brissett is, and he averaged 6.7 yards per attempt in this one, and it felt like it. And then there's just something with Brissett that he just doesn't take the chances downfield. He just does enough. And it's weird that Mariota is more aggressive than him at this point in his career, because I think early on he was definitely not an aggressive quarterback when he came in the league with Tennessee, especially going downfield. And he does take downfield shots. Like, he is not afraid to take downfield shots. It's just not always very accurate. But for every bad ball, he throws some good balls. Like, he's not awful. It's not like a Mitch Trubisky situation in Atlanta, but it's also not great. And you have to wonder how much longer you don't go to Dez when the quarterback play is like this. And if you're a running identity team, you might as well just see what you have. And I mean, I think the other part of it too is just the Falcons have gotten way more out of their offensive line than I think any of us would have predicted, because there was a lot of questions here. Elijah Wilkinson did not have a great game at left guard, but by and large, the holes are there. And the offensive line has played far, far beyond what I had ever anticipated was a possibility. And Arthur Smith is just coaching his butt off, man. Like, the Falcons offense, the defense, it is what it is, but the offense is 1,000% legit, and I think folks should probably be a little scared once Arthur Smith gets a little bit more talent on this side of the ball, because I think it's on pat to be one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. Did watching the Pittsburgh Steelers game, or at least seeing what happened with it, did that maybe give you as a fan that juice to kind of go, okay, let's get Ritter in there?
I mean, I want to see it anyway, but it's also like the offense is good. So as long as the offense is still humming with Mariota, I understand why Smith is doing this. I mean, they could easily be 3-1 with Mariota right now. So I think until Mariota really sputters, he had another almost fumble lost. He dropped just another shotgun set where it's like he's not paying all the way. It's so weird. It feels very college, very high school, right? What happens. And he does it once or twice a game. He'll take a dumb chance downfield once or twice a game, but he's fine. Marcus Mariota is fine for right now, and it's a long season. You still got 13 games. It's not like there's an exact time you need to get Ritter in there to see what you have. But the Steelers weren't moving the football. The Steelers were having fans just revolt at the lack of productivity for their offense through 3 weeks, right? Like, that was the difference, is like the offense wasn't humming. The offense is humming outside of Mariota. Drake London is having an offensive rookie of the year type start to the season. The Falcons are running the football with ease, no matter who's in the backfield right now. I think that kind of keeps put Ritter in there, folks, at bay for at least another week or two. But look, I would prefer Ritter in there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to happen eventually. Marcus Mariota is, as much as I love him and as much as I am an Oregon fan, it seems like he will be a good backup for years to come.
For sure. He's somebody you want in a pinch. If you need a quarterback for a month or whatever to keep the thing afloat, then Mariota's a good option. I would like, if Trey Lance does get going, I would like Mariota to come be the backup for him. I could see it. But we are a ways away from that, my friend. Who do you feel across the NFL better about this week than you did the previous week, Evan?
49ers. How do you ask that?
You can't do the 49ers. You can't.
I mean, I know, but like, of all the questions that you could possibly ask, I mean, the most obvious answer would be the 49ers. I mean, hey, the Raiders to me, I thought were, obviously one of the worst football teams. I mean, they had the worst record. They were winless. Mm-hmm. And the Raiders come in, Derek Carr doesn't, obviously this was the Josh Jacobs game, but Derek Carr didn't throw a pick. And the Josh Jacobs goes nuts, 144, 2 touchdowns. It's hard, Devontae Adams gets 100 yards. Like, it's not an exciting answer, but I mean, you go winless to that.
I think the biggest one that I flipped on is the Cowboys, where the Eagles are having an amazing start. I think they have the second best Super Bowl odds per Football Outsiders after this week. Just behind, I think, the Bills, as I want to say. But the Cowboys, I have a stat for you, Evan. The Cowboys, Cooper Rush is the first quarterback to win each of his four starts in Cowboys history. Remember, Dak went 11-1 out of the gate, and he never surrendered the job back to Tony Romo after he got hurt and he entered the fold. Cooper Rush is absolutely not the next Dak Prescott or anything like that. But Michael Gallup's back. He has a big touchdown in this one. The Commanders are just, and we'll get to the Commanders in a second. I think the Cowboys are the biggest team that a week ago I just was still not buying that they're going to be able to survive and weather the storm. But I think the Cowboys might still be a big fact. They're only a game behind the Eagles. To be 3-1 after losing Dak is pretty remarkable. And I think with your only loss being to a very good Bucs team, the Cowboys are in good shape. I think the Cowboys are good. The defense is legit. You talk about the defense of the Niners. I think the Cowboys have a top 10 defense in football this year, and I think that matters for them really competing, not just for the wild card, but I think Cowboys-Eagles is going to be an interesting thing to monitor the rest of the way. I'm buying the Cowboys Kool-Aid right now.
So here's what I will say. I am not at all. But here's what's going to be super funny for the Cowboys. First and foremost, the Buccaneers have really gotten worse, I think. Obviously they have injuries and things like that. But, the Buccaneers beat the Cowboys pretty bad week 1. The Bengals, it was a close game. The Bengals have been trying to figure it out. The season's been weird. Beating the Giants to me is not impressive. I don't care that they're, have a good, decent record. It's not impressive to me. Beating the Commanders is not impressive. They have to play the Rams, who looked pretty terrible last night, but the Cowboys don't have that defense. So they have to play the Rams and the Eagles. So if we look 2 weeks from now, and they're 2-4, but then this is where it gets funny. Then they go Lions and Bears. Then they go Cowboys, Vikings. But then they go Giants and Colts. So it's going to be a back and forth year because they've got a pretty easy schedule, all things considered. I don't know. I think the Cowboys might be an 8-win team, but they could maybe be a 9-win team. I don't think the Cowboys are winning 10 games this year.
I don't know. I mean, you get the Lions at home in a couple of weeks. You go to LA, who are licking their wounds after this latest loss to the 49ers.
Yeah, but it's a home game after you just got beat up by a really good defense. Don't you think they'll play better?
For sure. But I just think it's going to be it's a toss-up. I think that'll be a close game. And I think at Philly, obviously, we'll learn a bunch about both teams. But you get Chicago at home. You get the Giants at home. You get the Colts at home. You get the Texans at home. I mean, this is not a crazy schedule for the Cowboys the rest of the way. I could see them getting 10 wins. I'm not ruling out 10 for the Cowboys on this one. Of all the games, Evan, which was the most surprising result for you?
The most surprising result? I don't want to be a broken record, but I would definitely say that the Raiders was pretty surprising, just in general, because the Raiders were looking terrible. I will say this. I was going to say, I don't think that there was many surprises this week, but I will say this. I do think that the Seahawks was the biggest surprise. And I think that's got to be the biggest surprise for a lot of people. Geno Smith is playing really good football.
Mm-hmm.
The Seahawks are winning football games. Like, that's the biggest surprise to me. Like, how, and maybe this is the same conversation that the Cooper Rush thing is. How long does this go on? Is Geno legit? Can he play a decent football game week in and week out? Can he give the Seahawks the ability to win? I joked early on in this podcast that maybe the Seahawks will beat out the Cardinals for that number 3 spot. I don't know if that's a joke anymore.
The defense really stinks, and the Lions really almost came back and won, and I have a Lions stat that's just preposterous. But Geno has completed 77% of his passes this year, man. That's the highest completion percentage by any quarterback through a team's first 4 games of a season, minimum 125 attempts per ESPN stats and infos. Like, he's not going to play at this level the rest of the year. I mean, that's not going to happen. He's playing just really insanely efficient. But the better thing if you're a Seahawks fan is just he's outplaying Russ significantly. More pass yards. Russ is only completing 61% of his passes to Geno's 77. 6 touchdowns for Geno, 4 for Russ. I mean, the dude is just he is performing at a wildly efficient level, and I think the scheme and what they're doing, and also we can't overlook DK Metcalf is an absolute star and borderline uncoverable. I watched what he did to AJ Terrell in Seattle 2 weeks ago. A lot of teams' best corners just can't match up with DK. DK is fantastic, and he's only gotten better, kind of under the radar a little bit. Tyler Lockett, always been one of my favorites to watch, and he's been great for them. I don't know. They have a lot of bodies. Rashad Penny's run well. The offense, I think, is legit. But let me tell you, as someone who watched I don't think the Falcons punted against the Seahawks. If they did, they punted maybe once 2 weeks ago. The defense is a train wreck, and they have had a lot of injuries. The defensive line is quite bad. So do I think they're legit in the sense of the offense being good? Yeah, I think the offense is going to be good the whole year, and Geno's good. But do I think the defense is going to keep this thing humming and they're going to get 9 or 10 wins, maybe a wildcard team? I don't see it. I really don't like this defense.
They're terrible.
Yeah. Well, here's a stat for you. You want to hear the saddest Lions stat coming from NFL.com, Evan? It's quite sad.
I think I probably know what it is, but I'm waiting.
NFL.com. The Lions have scored 140 points and allowed 141 points in 2022.
Go ahead. Oh, I thought that was the end.
Oh, no, there's more. That 281 point total is the most combined points and points allowed through 4 games in NFL history. The 2022 Lions have lost 2 games in which they scored at least 35 points, tied for the most in a single season in NFL history. If that's not the most Lions thing possible, where you finally break through on the offensive thing, 35 points multiple times, and you're 1-3. I mean, just goodness gracious. Lions fans don't deserve this, man.
First off, the Lions fans, we don't know something because they have done something to anger the football gods for many years. So, I mean, but no, yeah, the Lions have scored the most points this year, and they have allowed the most points this year. It is, I gotta say though, let me preface it: the Rams won the Super Bowl. They won the trade, no matter what. They won the trade. Sure, the Rams won the Super Bowl, but Jared Goff is playing better than Matt Stafford right now.
The Rams quietly minus 24 point differential through 4 weeks.
Who would have thought that when you have Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., right? Who would have thought? Jared Goff was out here throwing the ball to a couple guys, and the ghost of Todd Gurley. I mean, Goff had it bad in that Super Bowl run. he had a bad. I mean, I'm not saying Goff is like a start, whatever, but like he's playing decent football right now, and Matt Stafford can't even do that.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, maybe there was something wrong. We had the whole elbow thing with Stafford. He's probably not 100%, but it's just the Rams, I don't think, are Super Bowl contenders as currently constructed right now. Who would you guess has the worst point differential in the NFC right now?
Cardinals?
No, not the Cardinals. Good guess. Minus 15. They have
I guess the Seahawks. Wouldn't it be the Seahawks?
Seahawks, negative 20. Getting closer.
It's the Rams?
Even closer. Rams, sneakily.
Wait, hold on.
Had the second worst point differential in the NFC.
It's the Niners?
No, the Niners actually have the second best.
I just named all four of them, so what are we doing?
I'm not talking about the NFC West. I said NFC.
Oh, I thought you said the NFC West.
Sorry, yeah.
In the NFC. God, I wouldn't even know.
The Washington Commanders at minus 34.
Yeah, I mean, this year, if there's one storyline that like...
And let me go ahead and also add, that's the worst in the NFL as a whole. They are the worst team in football.
I would imagine. We've gone like back-to-back years with like teams like gambling on these like high upside, which really they never were high upside. They just sucked quarterbacks. Like Baker Mayfield is bad, right? Carson Wentz is bad. Like these, I apologize. I gotta say, like, we talk about this and how bad these players are, but like I can't even imagine what the mental health looks like being Baker Mayfield and going from being drafted number 1 to this. Like, I don't mean to talk about that. That's kind of a downer thing, but like I was thinking about that. Like, he had a pretty rough game. Like, I can't even imagine what it's like to go from Oklahoma on top of the world, drafted number 1. You're in every commercial. Everyone loves you. You've got all this swag, and just like, how the mighty have fallen. Like, the Panthers might be the second or third worst team in the NFL this year, and he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, that's got to be hard on people, man. Like, I mean, all those millions of dollars probably help, but that's got to be tough.
I mean, he's always had a chip on his shoulder, and I think it's just one of those things that probably energizes him to continue to prove people wrong, but I think he will always have a bad taste in his mouth because ultimately what happened to him in Cleveland was wrong. Like, that was objectively wrong on a multitude of levels. And like you said, a lot of success at Oklahoma, but he's also he is someone who I think does feed off it still, and I think he is going to keep fighting, and I don't think he's there at that place mentally where it's I don't know. I think he's still a believer. The Panthers defense is pretty good still. I don't know. Panthers not really going anywhere. That's a staff that's just heading for a mass firing most likely at some point this year. But speaking of mass firings, the reason I brought up the Commanders, worst point differential in football, no one's really talking about it, but are we sure Ron Rivera shouldn't be at the top of first coach fired? Like, if we had to do a poll right now, like Ron Rivera, are we sure he's safe as the Washington football coach right now?
So, I think Ron Rivera is such a respected guy that I don't know that they'll fire him that soon, especially when it doesn't seem like there's really anyone, waiting. Like, there's no reason to. Like, I'll play out the seasons, especially if you're an owner. You're like, let's get this draft pick. Like, tonight is a good example. DeMeco Ryans is going to be the guy that everybody wants to hire this year, right? I think that's going to be, you got your DeMeco Ryans. Who else would you think?
I don't know. Who are you thinking?
Sean Payton, maybe, if he comes back.
Sean Payton's not, like, he's getting the Cowboys job next year. It seems like that's like the
maybe, but like I just got to say, Sean Payton's going to have every team looking. So, I mean, let's just, you have
a San Francisco connection there. Martin Mayhew is running that front office, I believe.
Yeah. So, my point is this. I don't know that this isn't the year where coaches, I think, get fired mid-season just because, I don't know, man. Everything is so bland. Like, the Commanders are losing at a boring level. Right, like the Panthers are like no one is like spectacularly losing. There's just like there's just these really sad losses or like, nah, well, whatever. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like fire and brimstone usually comes from firing a head coach because it's so terrible. The product on the field is so terrible that like they have to rip that Band-Aid. And I don't think that's that like this year. I think it's just like this is like a numb pain. It's just like at the end of the year we'll fix it.
We'll see. In 36 games under Ron Rivera, this coming from Grant Paulson, who does good work covering the Commanders. He said in a tweet, they have trailed 20-0 in 19% of his games. So at 1 out of every 5 games, he's down 20-0, which is
Jesus Christ.
Insane. He's trailed by 20 total in 27% of his games. He is trailed at any point in 91% of his games, second worst in the NFL at that time. I don't know. I think I'm moving him up to the top of the list as the dark horse for first coach fired. He was cursing in his press conference today. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
He was pretty frustrated about the state of the team. So he said this is when you know things are just really, really bad. He said, quote, I understand how important it is to win, but I've got to be realistic with what we have and what we're trying to do. Not the most ringing endorsement for your current roster and Carson Wentz. When you start saying we've got to be realistic week 4 into a 17-game season, things are pretty bad. Things are pretty bleak for the Commanders. Things who I don't think are bleak for the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think people are really freaking out. The Ravens, obviously, late pick by Lamar, loses that one against the Bills, but they got up on the Bills early and they were winning most of that game. But they performed really well. On the flip side, you had the Bucks just digging themselves a big hole early with the fumble on the kickoff, and the Chiefs score immediately, and the Chiefs just were able to do whatever they wanted all night. The Bucks ran for like 7 yards in the game, and they still almost won with Brady just being Brady and throwing to everybody under the sun to keep them in it. I don't know. I'm not really all that concerned about the Bucks and the Ravens losing to 2 other Super Bowl favorites and the Chiefs and the Bills. I think people might be overreacting to both those teams because I think those 4 still are very much in my Super Bowl contender conversation. Is that the case for you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Bucks, no.
You're not a Bucks believer. Yeah, I think so.
Doug, why? Did you not see that? First off, like, it's not like I'm like fully healthy Bucks I don't think are going to make the Super Bowl. Like they have so many injuries. This isn't like I'm not being a hater. Like Tom Brady is not carrying this team to a Super Bowl victory. It's not going to happen. The only thing I will say is just
I don't know about that.
is more open. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're wrong. Like I love you, bro, but you're so wrong.
I will say Todd Bowles gave up the most points on Sunday night of any Todd Bowles-led unit his entire coaching career.
Let me put it this way. If Tom Brady meets the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship, it will be the worst loss in his career. I'm not joking. And I mean, like, we're so far ahead, but that's actually a very tangible lineup.
That'd be a fun storyline, though. Jimmy versus Tom.
Jimmy versus Tom. It would be so sad too, because Tom's like 45 years old and like, you know, he's got a bunch of injuries on his team, and the Niners just beat the crap out of him, and he's like, oh, I didn't even.
Do we know if they're cool?
Who?
Jimmy and Tom.
I think they're cool. Yeah, I do, because Tom's not stupid, right? Like Tom won that too. You have to remember, right? Like it's not like Jimmy came in and they're like, well, we're getting rid of you, right? Like Tom was like, nah, I am that guy. And they sent him to San Francisco. So I don't think so. You know, and you have to remember too that like Tom Brady brought Jimmy Garoppolo to the Derby with him. They're all dressed up and fancy. You know, they're hanging out. Like, and that was after he got traded, by the way. When he was a 49er, he went to the Derby with them. So I don't think they hate each other. I mean, to be honest, when you're Tom Brady, I don't think you're worried about other quarterbacks. It's the people in charge that probably piss him off.
That's fair. Until it actually happens, he's completing 70% of his passes still. He's only throwing 1 pick, 6 TDs, 97 quarterback rating. He's not been the problem, I would say. And
But he's not the problem. That's the point. Tom Brady's never going to be the problem. He is on a team that has not that great defense and holes all over the offensive line. They had more offensive line injuries than any team in the NFL before the season even started.
Who do you think leads the league in sacks right now?
49ers?
Oh, I meant quarterback. Sorry, I should specify. Who do you think has been sacked the most?
What's his name? Was it Wentz?
It is Wentz.
Yeah.
17 sacks. Joe Burrow right behind him at 16 because that man is just addicted to sacks.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, man. He's going to get himself killed.
I mean, but do you see what he said? They said on the broadcast on Thursday night where they were like, he told them that he likes getting hit because it's football. He said something to the effect where he's like, that's part of it. Like, I like the getting sacked, essentially, is what he was saying. Or it just like, it's part of the game. It's just something he enjoys is the physicality of it, I guess. I don't know, man.
I think what he was saying is like, he's like, you respect, like you got to respect that football is the sport that it is. Like,
yeah,
it's a tough sport. Yada yada yada.
And as we all predicted, the league leader in touchdown passes is Jared Goff through 4 weeks, 11 TDs. It's preposterous.
It is a bit ridiculous.
Evan Sowards. I had one other thing for you. Bengals back in the driver's seat in the AFC North. I think sitting at 2-2 now. They go to Baltimore next week for a big time showdown, which will kind of tell us where they're going. Chicago, I think, on their way to being one of the worst teams in football again. I don't know who I'd be more frustrated. If you're a fan of Detroit and you're a fan of Chicago, based on what you've seen through 4 weeks as a fan, what would you be more frustrated with? The 1-3 Lions or the 2-2 Bears based on the way in which they've won and lost games? Who would you be more frustrated at? If the 49ers were having either of those two kinds of seasons with the circumstances involved with Fields and Goff and stuff, who would you be more frustrated by?
The Niners or the Lions?
No, what I'm saying is like if the Niners had basically if the Niners were the Bears right now or the Lions right now, which would be more frustrating for you as a fan?
I've always said this. I've always said this, and I will end with this. If anyone on earth wants to tell me that it's more heartbreaking to be a Browns fan than a Niners fan, I will physically fight their entire family. From the youngest baby to the oldest grandfather. Like, I will fight the entire family because it's an absurd thing to say when there's no hope. When you're the Bears and you haven't had a starting quarterback in 14 presidencies, like, there's no hope there. Like, you don't wake up, September and go, this is our year, right? Like, there's a numbness that comes with having a team that's that terrible. When you're the 49ers and you have heartbreaking losses in multiple NFC championships, in multiple Super Bowls, when you come from a team, a team that had won 5 Super Bowls, the generation before you, everyone my age that's a 49ers fan, all they know with their NFL team is pain and suffering. The highest of highs only to immediately come crashing down at the worst possible times. NFC Championship, Super Bowl. The worst losses that they've had are essentially at the biggest game of the year and the game that'll get you there. And their fathers and mothers that are 49ers fans got to see 5 Super Bowl wins. Some teams have none. So when you tell me that I'm supposed to pity the Browns fan who doesn't, they don't expect a Super Bowl. They don't expect that. Like, when they get close, I'm sure they're hyped, but when they lose, the year that they, Baker and them had that playoff run, when they lost, do you think they were sad or were they like, man, that was cool? Wow. Felt good to be there. It's been a while. They're not sad. They're like, God, we got to go to the playoffs. Try looking at a 49ers fan when they didn't run the ball one time and Cap threw the ball and threw a goal line fade to Richard Sherman. Try being a 49ers fan when Kyle Williams fumbled the ball in the NFC Championship, a game where if they won, they would have destroyed the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It's different.
That's fair. Well, and before we get into our pick'em, Evan, Justin Herbert, I was thinking about this recently, and it's popping up here, where I've said the Chargers, unfortunately, are just a very cursed franchise. We're talking about cursed franchises. Chargers are cursed. Justin Herbert, great quarterback. As much as I like giving you a hard time with my Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert, and I will continue to push that narrative for the foreseeable future for my real QB1 of that draft, Mr. Joseph Burrow. Justin Herbert has been sensational since coming to the league. He recorded his 19th game from NFL.com with 300 passing yards, which tied, who I thought was interesting, Andrew Luck's record for the most in a player's first 3 seasons in NFL history. He's kind of reminding me of the Andrew Luck in Indianapolis timeline. Look, Ryan Grigson did not develop that team well in Indianapolis. That has been well documented. There are all kinds of problems. Justin Herbert's 3rd in sacks this year. Rashawn Slater goes down early. Sensational offensive tackle. They don't really have the wideout production. Keenan Allen's out all the time. They really are asking a lot out of Austin Eckler out of the backfield. They struggled to get past the Texans this week. Is there a path where Justin Herbert, after 7 years of just dealing with the insanity of being a Los Angeles Charger and getting his brain speed in, throwing the ball 1 billion times, just like Andrew Luck did, and just going through a battery of injuries, and being a super smart guy that we know Justin Herbert is, like Andrew Luck I think Justin Herbert was like, was he the valedictorian in his high school, something like that?
He's a very smart kid.
Yeah. I don't know. What if he's like, this is just not worth it for me? I love that he broke or tied Andrew Luck's record, because he does he's starting to remind me of Andrew Luck.
I get that, but like, I don't know. Justin Herbert's not out here playing like World of Warcraft. Like,
do we know that?
I mean, I don't know. He actually might, but like, Justin Herbert grew up a huge Duck fan. He grew up loving football. He's always loved football. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like Andrew Luck was like forced into football. I don't know. I don't want to get into that because that's just whatever. What I will say is this: Justin Herbert took a bad injury to the rib, and they lost one game that they, for some reason, decided to play him, which made no sense in the first place. The Chargers could be 3-1 right now. They're 2-2. You know, you say the receiving issues, but Mike Williams had 120 yards last week or this.
But how many games has he played in 3 years?
I understand that, but he's played 3 games this year.
That's fine.
So
they have 4.
But my point is this: Justin Herbert again, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Right? They won. They beat the worst team in football now officially, the Texans. Right? Like, yes, they're cursed, but they have the Texans, the Browns, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Falcons before they play the Niners. They realistically could win 4 of those games. So I understand, and even this year, even me, I'm like, God, Chase is kind of right. The Chargers are charging. But Justin Herbert still continues to play lights out. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the first 3 weeks, even like week 4, like I felt like teams are still trying to get right, get right in the season and get like comfortable. So we'll see, but they got a pretty easy week coming against.
It doesn't
the
help
Browns.
that the other Bosa gone for 8-10 weeks too with his injury. I mean,
pretty bad.
I don't know. We'll see with the Chargers. Do you have a Sword Says, a 2-minute hot take for us tonight, Evan?
2 minutes? No, I need 2 seconds.
Oh,
Nick Bosa, NFL leader in sacks, pressures. Okay? NFL leader in sacks with 6. Okay. There's nothing else to say. He's the best defensive player in the NFL. He'll be the defensive MVP by the end of the year. Respect to Aaron Donald, because what he has done the last few years has been insane. Nick Bosa is him.
I like it. You're all in, man. Do you have a Nick Bosa jersey?
No, I can't do that.
Why?
I'm a bleeding heart liberal.
I get. Okay, I was thinking about that. I was like, wait, there had to be. Okay, yeah, that's. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. We don't have to get into all that.
And honestly, I will say, ever since then, Nick Bosa has been fantastic. Ever since we drafted him, a lot of people were worried about like the whole MAGA stuff. Whatever, whoever you vote for, I don't care. But he's been a fantastic teammate. Everyone loves him. He is just a good dude, and he's the best defensive player in the NFL.
You're all in on Nick Bosa. You're smitten, Evan Sowards, by Mr.
14
Bosa.
pressures. 14. That's more than some players will get in like half a season.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, man. I hear you. Our pick'em. Are you ready for our 2 minutes? Screw the lines. Week 5 edition. Evan Sowards.
My brother, it is late. Let's get through these.
Let's do it. I love how you keep and let the good folks know. Evan's saying it's super late, and I want this to be perfectly clear. It is past midnight East Coast time when we're recording this. It is when we got started here. It was the 8 o'clock hour when this podcast started, and he was complaining about how late it was, which I love.
I'm saying it's late for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm tired too, but yeah, I don't like staying up late. Like, you know how you're like, I like being outside and having a nice walk and writing in my notebook or whatever it is you old people do. I like going to bed early. I don't like staying up late. I struggle sleeping constantly. And by the way, I should tell you about that. I found out medically why that is. But I struggle sleeping. So like I got to get a running head start every night just to make ends meet at all.
Well, there's your first problem. You shouldn't be running to bed. That wires you. That gets you going.
Figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you both. No more running.
Well, running for me, I kid you not. Like I'm probably gone for at least a year, because the chance of re-injury is very strong once you've had a foot fracture. And I'm terrified of the rehabilitation here, where I gotta like ease into weight bearing on my foot. And I don't know. I'm not really I'm just trying to get through October. So I got to get through next couple weeks. I'm over the shower experience, Evan. There is nothing more demoralizing than showering with a broken foot and having to sit in a shower stool and just get rained on while you have your foot dangle outside of the shower. It's bleak, man. It is a bleak experience to be that helpless. And just, I feel ridiculous taking a shower every day. I can't stand it.
I get it, man.
Well, Mr. Sowards, are you ready for our pick'em?
I am indeed.
Let's do it.
All right. Week 5, Colts and Broncos.
This is Thursday night, right?
Yep.
And where is this?
At Denver.
The Colts are painfully mediocre this year. Just painfully right there in the middle. It hurts me as a longtime Matt Ryan guy, but watching them go down to the Titans, who are also painfully mediocre this year, there's just something not all the way there with this Colts team. I think the Broncos bounce back, but the Broncos, I think, are a 500 team too. But at home on Thursday, I think they bounce back. Give me the Broncos.
I am going Broncos as well, but the Colts did beat the Chiefs and then lost this week, so I would be a little up and down, up and down. Giants and Packers, I'm going Packers.
Yeah, definitely the Packers. The Packers, have you looked at their schedule the rest of this month? The Packers are going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Let's just go ahead and pencil that in. That doesn't mean they're winning the NFC, but if you want to beat the Packers or you want to get to the Super Bowl this year, you're going to have to go through Lambeau. They get the Giants at home, the Jets at home next week, and then at DC. Like they're just going into October.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay. That's all I'll say right now. We'll see. I'll take the Packers too, but we'll see. Patriots and Lions. I'm taking the Lions.
I think Mac will be back for this one. We'll see.
Is he going to start? Is the other quarterback better? I don't even know his name. Generic white guy.
Hold on. Put some respect on Bailey Zappi, Western Kentucky legend. Bailey Zappi put up some bonker stats for the Hilltoppers last year. Went bowling, beat App State.
By the way, Bailey Zappi. What a name.
It's a good name. Bailey Zappi. Let the man cook. Let Bailey cook. No, I don't think Dan Campbell's beating Bill Belichick this week. Not happening in New England. No, give me the Pats to bounce back here.
Okay, Chargers, Browns. I got the Chargers. This is at Cleveland.
Give me the Browns and a bounce back home game. The Browns can still run the football. They don't this is going to be a turnover happy one where I think the Chargers will make they will charge her a little bit too much here, and I think the Browns getting Myles Garrett back will be a huge help because there is no Rashawn Slater to protect and defend against this Browns front seven, which is good. And also the Browns do have the best offensive line in football, so no Bosa there to disrupt. I think this is a good way for the Browns to bounce back. Give me the Browns.
Oh, man. All right. Yeah, you just no faith. Okay, Jaguars and Texans. I think we'll both go Jaguars here.
Texans are just awful. I will say, Davis Mills makes some good throws. He had some pretty ones. He had a deep one to Nico Collins on Sunday. He's not bad. David Mills, is it Davis Mills? I always get it backwards. Is it Davis or David? The Stanford legend, David. I don't know.
Davis Mills?
Is it Davis? Whenever I say Davis, it feels wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was solid again on Sunday against the Chargers. But no, give me the Jags, bounce back. Tough loss on the road at Philly, but they fought hard, and Trevor Lawrence is playing his tail off this year. So give me the Jags.
Okay. Bucks and Falcons. I think I'll say I'm going Buccaneers, but I still think they're mid.
I think this game comes to the Falcons are only going to play in close games this year, I think. And I think this is another close one where I do not think the Bucks and Falcons will be punting all that often. And I think the Chiefs were able to run on Tampa Bay this Sunday, and I think the same will be true for the Falcons. I think even without Cordero, they'll be able to run on the Bucks. But I do think Mariota against this front seven and defense, I think this is gonna be a mistake-prone week, my guess, for Mariota, and the Falcons lose in a close one, in a rough one where like Mariota throws like a pick six or something or fumbles in Tampa Bay territory late. Give me the Bucks, unfortunately.
Cool. Steelers, Bills. I'm going Bills, but it's gonna be a weird game.
Kenny Pickett,
Buffalo.
4 quarters of Kenny Pickett this week.
Old Josh Allen versus new Josh Allen.
Ooh, Jarrett Bailey, listen to this pod somewhere in Pittsburgh, not loving that.
That's a compliment, right?
I know, but he was all in on the Trubisky stuff. He was a rider.
Yeah, but we told him he didn't want to listen.
He didn't want to listen.
He called Trubisky athletic. God, get him back on this podcast so I could bully him.
No, give me the Bills here. I think
clip that. Yeah. Clip that. I want that. I'm serious. I'm not joking. Do that whole part at the end. Get him back on the podcast so we bully. I want that.
I'll just DM him.
No, I want that clip. You can do it. Do it.
All right.
It's like 5 seconds.
Yes,
it doesn't even have to be soon. It doesn't even have to be soon. It could be like fucking 2 weeks from now.
Well, I'm definitely not going to remember it at that point.
Well, I don't want. You're a busy guy.
Where are we going?
Dolphins
next?
And Jets. The battle of Kyle Shanahan's exes.
I don't like Teddy Bridgewater going up to New York here, and the Jets showed some grit, showed some moxie. That Robert Saleh defense was good on Sunday. No, give me the Jets at home. I think they're over 500.
No way, dude. No way. Dolphins. Teddy looked decent. I think Teddy. By the way, this is such a late time for this, but the idea that like Jimmy Garoppolo can't succeed in Kyle's offense when Teddy and Tua are both doing well, and Mike's offense, like come on, Dolphins winning this game. Bears and Vikings. God, the Vikings want to be bad so badly, but they just keep winning.
The Vikings, I think, are fine. The Vikings have a fun, good offense. I think they're good. The schedule's been really kind to them. The double doink in London was preposterous, but you hate to see it for the New Orleans Saints. But that was the case. No, give me the Vikings, and the Bears offense just terrible.
Okay.
Vikings are a playoff team, by the way. Let's just go ahead and pencil that.
I think I told you that, right? That was my thing. I said that they'll potentially do better than the Packers this year. Titans and Commanders, another week, another game where we will not be watching.
I guess the Titans, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Commanders won. This is just I think this is gonna be an ugly game. No, give me the Titans, but I don't feel great about it.
Cool. I'll go Titans. God, they're so bad. Here's a game in. God, these are terrible games, bro. Seahawks and Saints. I don't want to. Ugh. Nah, man, I don't care. Saints are going to win, though. I hope they do. I don't want to see the Seahawks go on a roll.
The Saints offense is not good. I don't know, man. I think I'm going Seahawks here. I think the Seahawks offense is legit. I don't think the Saints can score enough. Like, I like the defense in New Orleans to this point, but I don't know. I think the Seahawks offense is legit. No, give me the Seahawks on the road here.
Okay. 49ers and Panthers. This is going to be a fun week. Poor Baker Mayfield. Does anybody have a worse time against the 49ers defense? Well, Matt Stafford. But you remember that Browns game?
I do.
Against Baker with Nick Bosa waving the imaginary Ohio State flag.
Mm-hmm. That was rough.
Does Baker make it out alive from this game?
Yeah, he'll move around. He'll be fine. Sam Darnold might be dressing for this one, so they'll have a backup, it looks like. No, give me the Niners to win comfortably here.
Eagles and Cardinals. Is this weird that I kind of want to root for the Cardinals, but they're looking not root, but like I think they might win this game. It's at Arizona. Philly's been on this weird streak. It's got to break eventually.
Do you think it ends here? Are you going Cardinals?
I don't want to go Cardinals. I just like their streak has to end soon, and like the Cardinals have like obviously Kyler Murray is just that athletic dude that like if someone was going to pull a weird win out against them this early, it would probably be them.
I can't do it yet. The Cardinals don't look good at all. But again, the Cardinals, it's just they're so obsessed with the D-Hop-Kyler connection that I want to see what this group looks like with Ertz, with Hop, and with Brown. Let me just see what that looks like, and then I'll make my Cardinals take. But no, give me the Eagles here. Give me the Eagles.
All right. And then so after that game, we do have the Rams and Cowboys. That's, like I said, going to be a weird one. I'm going Rams, but I don't want them to win.
I'm going Cowboys until the Cowboys lose. I think the defense is legit. They know what they are. They're just slow and steady. Cooper Rush not making any mistakes on offense. Michael Gallup's back in the fold. CeeDee Lamb showing out the last couple weeks. No, I think the Cowboys are better right now. Give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean you know every year you just have like this idea that ends up being so aggressively wrong, and I think this might be yours this year.
The Cowboys' faith.
Yeah, it's so weird. Ravens and Bengals. Does Joe Burrow die?
I mean, he can't like it. He's just gonna be. I think this is just part of his career now. I think we should just go. It's year 3, and he's still getting sacked like this. I don't know. La'el Collins has not been good at right tackle, but yeah, I mean. This is a big one. I still think Ravens, but I would not be surprised if the Bengals pull this out. It's a big win for both sides. I'm going to go Ravens, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I myself am going Ravens because they've looked great all year, and I love Lamar, and I'm so happy for him. So get paid, brother.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a weird game.
All right, where are we wrapping?
Chiefs and Raiders. Chiefs are going to annihilate them.
Oh, are you ready for my upset of the week?
Oh, no.
The Raiders on bum 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 bum. The Vegas Raiders with the upset. A long layoff for the Chiefs. The Raiders coming off their first win of the year. They're not as bad as the record shows. I think the Raiders bounce back here. Max Crosby and company have a fun game. Max Crosby, is he still the lone sack machine in this Vegas front seven? Might be the case. I don't know. I think this will be a fun one. What if Devontae Adams goes off in this one? Who says no? Josh Jacobs. We'll see if he can run the football against this Chiefs front seven, because the Bucs could not a week ago. No, this is my upset of the week. Give me the Raiders on Monday Night Football on primetime to upend the Chiefs, who everyone's just all back in on. Remember, Chiefs lost 2 weeks ago to the Indianapolis Colts. They're beatable.
The first 3 weeks were weird, but I don't think that's going to continue. I think we're going to start to see, for the rest of the season, the good teams beat the bad teams. I don't think we're going to have as many weird upsets as we've had the last couple of weeks. I think the Chiefs are going to dog walk the Raiders, and then we are going to be looking at, maybe not that week, because it'll be like, well, it's the Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes. But very soon, the Raiders are going to lose some more games, and we might be looking at some Josh McDaniel firing. They're going to fire head coaches mid-season back-to-back.
Nah, McDaniel's fine. He's not. The GM's in there. Dave Ziegler was his guy. It's just he's going to get like 3 years in Vegas, the bare minimum. Well, there we go, Mr. Sowards. Anything you'd like to plug as we wrap up here on a Monday night?
Nick Bosa. Have a good night, everyone.
Well, hold on. You're not doing the bit. How do we? What do the good people do?
Yeah. We usually say anyone I want to plug. I don't want to plug anything. I'm tired. But what I will say is,
the tired
Nick
stuff.
Nick Bosa is a 5-star defensive end for the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would want a 5-star review for his play tonight. And like getting his 5-star review for the fantastic 2-sack, 14-pressure game, I'd say give us and Chase Thomas of the Chase Thomas podcast on Blue Wire Radio a 5-star review.
There you go.
Why not? You're about to go to bed anyways. Maybe you just woke up, you're watching it.
You're almost at work.
Yeah. Like you're getting settled in, you just got your coffee. Who cares? It'll take 2 seconds. Just do it. Be nice. For Chase, not for me. I'm nobody.
Well, no, for both of us. For that guy out there in Los Angeles, California, Mr. Evan Sowards, for myself here in Knoxville, Tennessee, that is all we've got. We'll be back with our NFL show next week here on the Chase Thomas Podcast on the Blue Wire Pod Network. Evan Sowards, I will talk to you next week.